Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Monday, March 31st, 2025. And I've been complaining a little bit lately because it's been too hot in the mornings. Well, careful what you wish for because now it's too bloody cold. I almost need the gloves on this morning. I haven't got the jacket on, as you can see there, but almost beanie time as well. But no, I don't mind the weather when it turns. I like the heat, but then I also like the cold. Just in certain spurts, though. It's just been hard this year because the summer has just dragged on and on and on. So it's good to see we've finally got a little bit of cool weather now. But yeah, I'll be complaining soon it's too cold and looking forward to spring. On this day, March 31st, a couple of big fights in the history of boxing. One of the biggest upsets that is Ken Norton. On this day, on March 31st, 1973, upset Muhammad Ali, the broken jaw fight, and won a 12-round decision. That was in San Diego, over 12 rounds. And I remember because Muhammad Ali wore the Elvis Presley robe into the ring and had all the sequins. All that was given to him by Elvis Presley. Didn't do him much good on the day, though, because Ken Norton, with one of the great performances, upset the greatest. And almost did it another 2 times. They did fight 3 times in total, with Muhammad Ali getting the next 2 fights. But I tell you what, all those fights, definitely the next 2 fights definitely could have gone the way of Ken Norton as well. And maybe we would have been talking about Muhammad Ali in a different sort of tone if he had lost 3 fights against Ken Norton. And Ken Norton was just one of those unlucky fighters that was sort of born in the wrong era. If he had been born maybe another 10 years later, I'm sure he would have competed with the likes of all the fighters that came after. Larry Holmes, of course, was the dominant champion, but the likes of Tim Witherspoon and Mike Weaver and John Tate and Buster Douglas, all these fighters that came after, about 10 years later, and I'm sure he would have beaten a lot of those fighters. Pinklon Thomas, all those types of guys, Tony Tubbs, Bone Crusher Smith, you know him. I reckon he would have beaten all those guys, but unfortunately he came up against the Alis and Foremans and Holmes and these types of guys. But I did meet him in Las Vegas once at a signing in a sports store, and I got the Ali and Norton poster. I think what actually might have been the first fight poster, and he signed that for me, and such a lovely guy as well. So, and no longer with us, unfortunately. So rest in peace to Ken Norton, who upset Muhammad Ali on this day in 1973. The other one, I remember this like it was yesterday. Terrible Terry Norris on this day again in 1990. He knocked out John the Beast Mugabe in the first round to win the WBC 154-pound title. And what a fighter he was, Terry Norris. Now, he wasn't really expected to beat Mugabe because Mugabe had come off that really good performance against Marvelous Marvin Hagler. He was stopped in the 11th round, but before that, he really lived up to the name, the Beast. He was just ironing out everyone. Now, in hindsight, the opposition wasn't overly great, and in this day and age, you probably get called out on it about how inferior his opponents were. But back then, he was just bowling opponents over left, right, and centre. Gave Hagler a good fight, and then did he win the WBC belt, or was it given to him? I can't remember, but it didn't matter because in this fight, terrible Terry Norris blitzed him in the first round, and Terry Norris would then go on a tear after that. He absolutely obliterated Sugar Ray Leonard in his comeback fight 3 years after Leonard had beaten Donnie Lalonde. He thought he'd come back and go down in weight because I think he fought at super middleweight before that and beaten Lalonde, and then he's gone back down to 154 for this fight. But yeah, he didn't anticipate what he would run into with terrible Terry Norris, who went on to be one of the great 154-pounders and pretty much cleaned out the division. All right, you right there, Neil? All good? Go, mate. How you doing? As Neil decides to do his business. All right, yesterday, a great day of fights, actually. I really enjoyed it. We had the 2 cards. We had the Michaela Mayer, Sandy Ryan event in Las Vegas at the Fountain Blue, and we had William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer in a really good fight as well. Ripper fight, actually. So didn't really get a lot done yesterday because the top ranked card, I think, started at 10 o'clock in the morning and what did it go to, about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a long card, as they always seem to be these days. I'm not going to complain though, because it's better than not having it on at all. And they do that sometimes, ESPN here in Australia. They don't put all the fights on. They'd rather have basketball or football or rugby or whatever it is on those channels. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. And look, before you all, call me a sissy or whatever it is and whatever, I liked the women's fight. I really did. And I know they get a lot of flack and, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there saying, women's boxing, it's shit, blah, 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 blah. But I tell you what, at the top level, the elite level, the women really know how to put it together. Now, I'll admit, I don't really get into the women's boxing at the lower levels or in the amateurs or anything like that. I've just struggled to sort of get my head around the whole women's boxing thing, and I'm not being sexist or anything like that. It's just my thing. I find it hard to watch women's boxing a lot of the times. But I tell you what, at the elite level, they can put them together. I was at a fight last year. It was Liam Wilson and Oscar Valdez. Now, I actually brought up the card here because I couldn't remember the names, and I should, because it was such a great fight. It was the main support for Oscar Valdez and Liam Wilson. It was Sinicia Estrada and Yelcasta Valle. And it was a ripper fight. And I think they were only, what were they, little flyweights or something? What's it say? What the fight? Minimum weight. 105 pounds minimum weight. But I'll tell you what, I would happily pay to see those types of fights any day. And again, I'm not the biggest women's boxing fan, but I'll tell you what, when you get two girls that have been schooled really well and taught and, just really good skills. I mean, it's a good fight. And I know unfortunately, a lot of the women's fights, because they're only 2-minute rounds, by the way, probably has a lot to do with it, but they're just rock 'em, sock 'em type of affairs where they go out there and it's just left, right, left, right, left, right, and they just go for it. And Katie Taylor, as great as she's been, is probably the one I can look at the most, where I'm not sure she would be as good a champion as she's been if she had to fight 3-minute rounds. I definitely think Amanda Serrano would have beaten her both fights are about to have number 3, because she's just all arms and head, really. She's just, and look, she's been a great champion, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think Amanda Serrano would beat her with our 3-minute rounds. But all that aside, the fight I saw yesterday with Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan was just a ripper fight, and just as good as any of those top-line male fights that you'll see. And again, I know I'll get people out there going, what are you talking about? Bloody women, they can't fight. But I'm telling you, they can. And I was really impressed with both girls yesterday, particularly Michaela Mayer. Really good set of punches. Like, she really digs in. I know there's not many knockouts with the girls, but does it really need to be? I thought both girls fought, even though they were 2-minute rounds, fought at a sort of 3-minute round pace. They were both calculated. They were both looking for the shots. Sandy Ryan probably just lacks a little bit of strength and power. Michaela Mayer just too big, too strong. What was it for the welterweight title? Wasn't it WBO? But I thought that Michaela Mayer, yeah, she's just patient, good jab, really good kit of punches inside. She really goes to the body hard. She throws 4, 5, 6 punches in a row inside. And yeah, and Sandy Ryan, look, really good skills. I just think she needed to be a little bit busier, but I just don't think she had the strength to really push Michaela Mayer back, who just looked the bigger fighter. She boxed well early in the fight, did Sandy Ryan. Good jab, but she sort of got away from her game plan a little bit from that movement and jabbing. She got sort of caught up in a bit of a slugfest with Michaela Mayer, but geez, the girls at it all hang out. I thought it was fantastic. And as I said, if that's just the type of fights you're going to get for the girls, I'll watch any old day. It's unusual, though. You will get a female fight that will headline a card in Vegas, particularly with the undercard fighters that are on there. So, yeah, look, I'm not quite sure the other girls out there for Michaela Mayer to fight. I don't take a lot of notice. I think there's Lauren Price is the other one. I haven't really seen much of her. But anyway, I'm just judging it on the fight I saw yesterday, and it was a ripper. Really good, entertaining 10-round fight. And a fan of both girls. On the undercard, well, let's just say it was a little bit underwhelming. We had Brian Norman with Brian Norman Jr., sorry, with the knockout. Who did he, what was the guy's fought again? I had it on my phone. Derek Cuevas. Now, I don't know where they found this guy, but yeah, not a great performance. Well, good performance from Brian Norman, of course. Let's just go back to that card there. Oh, hang on, I've lost it. Where is it? Oh, no, hang on, I've got to go back. I'll just get that card back up again. I've lost it, sorry. Where is it? Event. All right. There it is there. All right. So it was WBO welterweight title, but Derek Cuevas now is 27-1-1. So I've got no idea how he managed to get there, but it was just a mismatch. Brian Norman looked good, but Cuevas, yeah, not sure he was the ideal opponent to put on a big card like that, because he was looking for any way out that he could. Another couple of dogs there. And the other one, who was the one? Oh, Choo Choo. Bruce Carrington with the knockout of Enrique Vivas. Now, he looked okay, Choo Choo, got the job done, but yeah, I think he's been made to look pretty good by fighting sort of inferior opposition as well. I mean, he's a good young fighter, and I'm sure he'll get a world title shot at some stage. But yeah, I think I'm still to be convinced about Choo Choo. Definitely talks it up. I know he's talking about wanting, who was he calling out afterwards? I can't remember. Come on, Neil. He has this habit of just wrenching back when he wants to stop. But yeah, Carrington, remember, we beat Dana Coolwell last year, so I'm sure he'll get a title shot. Nick Ball was who he's calling out. Not quite sure he wants the smoke of Nick Ball. Nick Ball's a very strong, aggressive little fighter, and I'm not sure Carrington at this stage has got the skill and strength to keep Nick Ball off him. But it will be an entertaining fight. We're all talking about Nick Ball maybe potentially fighting in a way, not much at 126. But I'll tell you what, Carrington and Nick Ball would be entertaining. But my money would be on Nick Ball at this stage. And the other one I was really impressed with was Emiliano Vargas with a first round knockout. Was it first round or second round? Was the second round over Giovanni Gonzalez. Really like the fight. I've seen and met Emiliano Vargas a couple of times in Vegas. I remember it was about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, and we were in Vegas, and he was at, what gym was it? I can't remember what it was, but he sparred with Jorge Linares, him and his brothers. Might have just been one brother maybe. But anyway, he would have been 18, maybe 17, 18. But he got in there and sparred with Jorge Linares, who was in training for a fight. I can't remember who it was, but really in fight mode. Like, he was in good nick, really up in the pace. And he put everything on Emiliano Vargas, and Vargas went with him every step of the way. He was a tough young kid, and Linares hit him with some really good shots. And Emiliano Vargas, as I said, went with him, took some good shots and dug in. And I remember thinking, this kid's going to be good, because you can't teach metal, as they say, as far as hanging in there and being tough and just not taking a backward step. And you can do all the pad work and skill work and all that in the world, but you can't teach someone to have a bit of ticker and a bit of grunt about him, and he's got it, and skill to go with it. He's a very, very good young kid, and a really nice kid as well, very respectful as well, the son, of course, of Fernando Vargas. Now, he's already talking about maybe fighting Keyshawn Davis. He's 13-0, I think, now, so I'm not quite sure he's ready for Keyshawn Davis just yet. I think he's at 140, Vargas at the moment. Keyshawn Davis is at 135, I think. But he's had 13 fights, but he's had him in a rush. I think he had 2 fights at the end of 23. Actually, it might have been 22, actually. And then he had 6 fights in 23, and then another 5 or fights, whatever it is, in 24. Whatever it is, he's 13-0 with, might be 11 knockouts or something like that. So he's a good young kid. But I wouldn't mind seeing maybe get a year under his belt this year, like in 2025, and maybe get another 4 fights after today. That'll get him to 17-0, and then he can step up after that. But yeah, as I said, a really good young kid. Now the other card, William Zepeda with a 12-round decision win over Tevin Farmer. Now, I think Tevin Farmer wasn't overly happy about the result. Look, I thought it was close-ish, but I just thought William Zepeda did enough early in the fight to really build up a lead and do enough to win. Look, come on, mate. Come on, buddy. across this road. It's always dangerous this time of day. Come here, man. I'm not quite sure what to make of William Zepeda, if I'm being honest. I mean, it was a good, solid performance. He almost had Farmer out of there early in the fight. He had him rocked, he had him going, but he couldn't put him away. Now, he has managed to put away a lot of fighters earlier in his career, but I think, has he just been exposed a little bit by being a little bit one-dimensional when he stepped up in class? Now, Farmer, look, former world champion, very, very good fighter, but is definitely on probably the downside of his career. And I just thought Zepeda looked great early, but he couldn't get Farmer out of there. And then as the fight went on, he really struggled to keep the pace up. He fights just this one speed. It's just full steam ahead the whole fight. And I'm just not sure whether that's sustainable when he gets up against the top liners. You've got to have gears. And his gear is pretty much, let's just start you in fourth gear and just send you out there and away you go. There's no starting in first and working his way through. And then there's no going back in the gears. He can't retreat. He can't reset. And that's a little bit of a worry, because I've been pretty high on William Zepeda, but he has looked really good against some inferior opposition as well, and some okay opposition as well, don't get me wrong. But when I was watching that fight yesterday, I'm thinking, well, one, you've got Tevin Farmer all over the place and you can't get him. Now, again, Farmer's a cagey fighter and former world champion, so maybe it's a lot easier said than done to get him out of there. But yeah, I just thought the way he got reckless, he kept sort of just throwing the same shots and just trying to knock out Farmer with every punch that he threw. Yeah, it's not the right recipe, I don't think, if you're going to beat the Davises and Shakur Stevensons and Tank Davises of the world either. So I think he's got a little bit of work to do, but geez, he can throw some punches, and that's good in some way. But yeah, when you've got classy fighters who can see those punches coming and give you a bit of movement and tie you up inside and negate you a little bit and then make you pay on the counter. Yeah, I just think he's got a little way to go. Now, the funny thing is, out of all the other, if he actually got a shot at those champions, I actually think he'd have a better shot at someone like a Shakur Stevenson than the others. And the reason why is because I'm not sure whether Shakur Stevenson has got let's just say the fortitude to be able to weather the onslaught from William Zepeda. Now, Tevin Farmer obviously did. Tough guy, and he could have easily went down and even called it a day, really, but he didn't. Now, the thing is that when Zepeda starts fast and throws all those bombs and comes out so fast, can Shakur Stevenson, or does he have the balls, I suppose, if you want to say it, to go with William Zepeda? I'm not sure he has. Does he have the heart? Does he have the grit? Does he have the grunt to dig in those first 4 or 5 rounds when William Zepeda is dangerous and maybe builds up a lead? Because one thing Zepeda does do well, he cuts off the ring, he gets inside, he roughs you up and throws a lot of punches, well over probably 100 punches around. And as I said, Farmer had the fortitude to go with him. Does Shakur Stevenson have the same? I've got my doubts. We know that Shakur Stevenson, very, very talented, slick, puts them together well, but he always fights the fight at his own pace, to his own sort of, he's the one that dictates how the fight's going to be sort of fought, and he's not going to have that luxury against William Zepeda, who's going to be in his face from the first second. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity to see that, because I think Zepeda is the interim WBC champion, isn't he? Would be entertaining against Tank Davis, but I really think Tank's angles and his power and everything would be a bit too much for Zepeda. And Tank Davis is a tough little bugger. I think he would easily be able to withstand Zepeda's onslaught early and probably go with him. And I think Zepeda coming onto him all the time would allow Davis to really set up his punches and pinpoint these punches. And I think he could stop Zepeda, could Tank Davis. In case Sean Davis is interesting, I don't think that fight's going to happen anytime soon. Davis will probably go up anyway. But I'm thinking they're looking at other fights besides William Zepeda at this stage, because I don't think Davis is, again, probably a little bit like Shakur, has got the ability to go with Zepeda at the moment. But some really good fights to make. So on the undercard as well, Oscar Collazo, I like him. Is he a minimum weight, I think? He puts them together really well. So I'll watch Oscar Collazo any time. But yeah, look, overall, really good day of fights. Really good day. But yeah, again, not much sort of happening. I don't sort of mind the fights when they're on a day where, you know, it's a bit miserable outside. So you've got a good excuse to sit inside, put the heater on and watch the fights. Probably a little bit different in summer when there's when the sun's out and there's so much more to do. But at this time of year, I'll take it. But what did you make of the fights, guys? Let me know. I'm sure everyone's got their own opinion. Let me hear it, and we'll catch you tomorrow.